Oh, he has answered. Question number 2. Andrew Little.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Prime Minister. Does he have confidence that his housing and social ministers have homelessness under control, given the number of grants for emergency housing has almost hit 30,000 in 9 months, when only 1,400 were expected for the whole year?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, yes, ministers are doing a good job. The 30,000 grants apply to around 8,000 actual people, because a number of them get successive grants. Over the past year, the ministers have overseen the first ever direct government investment in emergency housing, amounting to more than $300 million, supplying up to 8,000 places for transitional housing. The member can't have it both ways. On the one hand, criticising the government for not doing enough, and on the other hand, criticising the government for spending too much money.
Supplementary.
Order. 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 Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
Yeah, Mr Speaker. Does he stand by his statement yesterday that, quotes, "I don't know why people are complaining," end quotes, about him spending $140,000 a day putting homeless families in motels? Doesn't he understand that he caused this crisis by selling and knocking down thousands of state houses and not replacing them?
Order. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Well, Mr Speaker, the member is simply wrong in his assertion about state housing. There are more state houses than ever, and I'm pleased to say the government has taken a large number of initiatives, including the Housing Infrastructure Fund, designed to ensure that tens of thousands more houses are built.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
When a study from Yale says New Zealand has the worst homelessness problem in the developed world, is he going to admit, without ducking and diving all over the show, that after 9 years his government has failed in its basic duty to put a roof over people's heads?
Order. Right
Mr
Honourable Prime
Speaker,
Minister.
if there's any failure in basic duty, it's the basic duty of the opposition to be a good critic of the government, which they have certainly failed in. Mr Speaker, even the Yale University themselves say that the absence of an internationally agreed definition of homelessness hampers meaningful comparisons. In other words, the comparison is meaningless.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
Does he feel any responsibility for the children doing their homework by torchlight in cars, for the families sleeping in freezing garages, for the homeless people dying on park benches?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Well, Mr Speaker, that is why the government has gone to all the trouble of investing $300 million in emergency housing for the first time ever, and setting out on a number of major initiatives to ensure that tens of thousands of new houses are built both by the government and by the private market.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
Given overseas speculators are driving up housing costs, will he ban those speculators from buying our homes? And if not, why is he protecting overseas speculators rather than the homeless in New Zealand?
Order. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Well, Mr Speaker, it is time that the opposition stop blaming New Zealanders with Chinese-sounding names for what goes on in the housing market. And in case the member hasn't noticed, house prices in Auckland are flat to falling.
That's right.
Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
Can he explain why, when we have the worst homelessness problem in the developed world, his latest move as Prime Minister is a $400 million tax cut to the richest 10%?
The order.
Well, Mr Speaker.
Order. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, I think we do have the worst Labor Party in the developed world. I don't think there's any doubt about that. The homelessness comparison is irrelevant, and the government is very happy with the initiatives it's announced in the last couple of weeks with the Housing Infrastructure Fund that will enable 60,000 new houses and Crown infrastructure partnerships which will enable tens of thousands more houses to be built.
Supplementary.
Order.
Judith's enjoying this.
Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
After 9 years, how does he feel to know that New Zealanders will remember his government as the author of the worst housing crisis in our history and its legacy as 41,000 homeless New Zealanders?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, in a growing economy with a growing population, we need more houses, and unlike that member, we are investing to support the infrastructure for more houses when that member says he wants to take a breather before he's even got on the job.
That's it. Question number 3, Andrew Bailey.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister.